It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another post.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday session for another week, another Menangle Saturday night meeting and another masterclass from young driver Jack Callaghan. I spoke with him last week on the podcast. Hard not to speak with him again when he drives 3 winners, 3 seconds and a third. So we're going to catch up with Jack. My Ultimate Ronnie was back in the winners list and won his race for fun. That win was actually the second leg of a training double for trainer Jarrod Alchin. So I'm going to catch up with him today, find out the plans for My Ultimate Ronnie and also his other winner, Romney. A couple of runners on Tuesday as well that we might find out more about too. So Jarrod's going to speak with me. And Brad Hewitt, he had runners in at Menangle on Saturday night, but he wasn't driving after a fall at Yagara last week. He was diagnosed, according to the steward's report, with delayed concussion. We hear about that a lot in football these days, especially with the HIAs in rugby league. So I'm going to catch up with Brad. I'll have a chat to him about his symptoms. He's also got 2 runners in the Canola Cup on Monday, so I'll pick his brains on those 2 runners as well. I've got a new segment this week to add to the show. I'll tell you more about that later. Plus, after tipping 2 horses on the show last week, one at $1.04 that won and one that galloped at $1.30, I'm going to look for another couple of winners. But this week, we're going to look for a bit more value. All in all, it should be fun, so let's get into it.
Firefox will angle into the clear shortly, but My Ultimate Ronnie's full of running. Leads the way 8 metres. Taipo has the job ahead of it. Pete Said So is trying to work its way through the field, and also Kanita Provlima just chopped out for a run, but My Ultimate Ronnie, 50 metres left to go, travelling really powerfully, and My Ultimate Ronnie will win the 5th. My Ultimate Ronnie beat in 2nd spot, Pete Said So, 3rd Kanita Provlima, Taipo a shade played for 4th.
Big night for Jarrod Alchin with a double, including My Ultimate Ronnie winning in 1:51 and 2. Ran the hands off the clock over the last 800 metres. Pretty comfortable ride for those that back the 4-year-old. Trainer Jarrod Alchin is joining me to have a chat. Morning, Jarrod.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Mate, really well. Impressive performance last night and churned through the gears in the final half.
Yeah, he got it pretty easy once he got to the front. It actually worked out perfect in the end. I hadn't expected Pete Said So to go forward like that, but when he went forward and it put Taipo one further back, it was sort of always going to play into our hands then. So he was able to get a cheap second quarter and, just rolled a back quick half. So, no, everything's turning along really good for him.
He obviously hasn't taken too much harm since the Eureka. He finished 6th in that and then went around a fortnight later and he finished 3rd behind Spirit of St. Louis. What are the plans with him now?
We'll head towards the 4-year-old Breeders' Challenge. The heats are here in 3 weeks. And then the finals a week later. So we'll go around in that. And then we've sort of got a big decision to make then whether we go to the Inter-Dominion or whether we go to Perth for the Nugget. At the moment, it's probably leaning towards Perth for the Nugget. Just keep to his own age. And I've always wanted to take a horse to Perth and never had anything good enough. So it'd be good to go over there and take him, but we'll just see. We'll get through the British Challenge and let him tell us where he's at. But at this point, he's never been sounder, which is a big thing for him. And he didn't have a tough trip in the Eureka, so he was always going to come out of it good. So there was no worry about that. Like, he was just back on the fence. Although it was a brutally run race, he wasn't in that early burn, and he actually hit the line really strong. So he's actually come out of that race better than how he went into it.
Is the 800-metre track at Gloucester Park a worry? Does he get around the smaller tracks?
No, loves it. Loves the smaller track. As a 2-year-old, he went 154 around Penrith.
Yeah.
And he's won a fair few races around Penrith. Because he can keep rolling good sectionals when he's needed to, and with his gate speed, I think he's really suited to Gloucester Park.
Mate, Romney won the 2,300 metre race last night. Great drive by Cam Hart. He dashed forward, found the front before Pitch Perfect popped around for the retake. I heard you asked in an interview about the change from driving to training, but that was a case in point where you employ a driver to do the work and he produced a race-winning drive.
Yeah, it was a great drive, and after the race, when he spoke about why he drove him like that, it just made so much sense, and that's why you put them guys on. Like, he hadn't planned to drive him that way, obviously, but he thought he drove the leader last week, and he said it's a horse that just loves to roll. And then he said when they were going so slow, he thought that they were going to then turn it into a real quick mile race. So he thought he'd get around before they really quickened up, because he thought then he'd be left in the death. So he thought he'd just make it a true mile and try and get around before they quickened up. So it was just a really smart drive.
Do you miss driving?
Not really. No, not really. I did love driving, and I lost the passion for it. And I'm a big believer in you can just do one thing properly. And I like to concentrate now on the training side of it. And I like going to the races, not even having to do me form, knowing that I've got my horses as well as they can be. Don't get me wrong, I do the form, but not as probably thorough as what I needed to when I was a driver. So I can go there, know that Kim or whoever I put on has got that under control. And that's their job then. My job's done. They've got to do their job. And I'm a big believer in, when I was training and driving, I did love it, but you could be going to the races and you're worrying about 3 or 4 things at home. One's got a cold, one's got colic or whatever at home. You've got that on your mind. You're going out trying to drive, and I just don't think you can drive at your best. So that's one of the reasons why I opted to take a backward step from the driving and just concentrate on the training. I can think about all them things at home and not have to worry about driving one at the races that night.
Mate, couple of the beaten brigade. Gennady grabbed in the shadows of the post again this week. He's won 20 grand in his last 3 starts. He's doing a good job for connections.
Yeah, he's doing a terrific job. He's just been a little bit unlucky. He needs a bigger head. He's been beaten a half head his last 2 starts or something. But, he's a terrific horse. I thought last night was his race, but they sort of rolled along and turned him, probably halfway down the road. I thought he was going to struggle to run a place, and just after the line, he kicked back and was in front again. So he's knocking on the door like he's going to win again very shortly. He's just, he's just a very consistent little horse, and he'll go through his grades.
What about Doff Your Cap? Got home down the outside in the Trotters race. What are the plans with him?
A bit disappointed in him, really. I thought he would have went better. His trials were good, and he got a good trip. Going into the race, I couldn't be happier with him. Coming out of the race, I just don't think I had him fit enough. He'd had 2 trials, but there's nothing like race fitness. And all of them have been racing week to week, and he hasn't raced since the Group 1 in Queensland. And, I just don't think I had him fit enough. Well, I think that race will bring him on. And there's a random barrier draw race here in a Bridge Challenge final day. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a good race for him. And then all going well, we'd like to take him to the Inter-Dominion in Queensland. But, he's a horse I really like. But, I was a little bit disappointed last night.
Let's look forward. Couple of runners on Tuesday. Race 9, My Ultimate Snowy, had the 2 trials and they went to Newcastle last week. What are you expecting this week? Yeah,
really like him. I've got a lot of time for him. He's, I thought he was going to be a very smart 2-year-old, and he broke down. So he's coming back off injury. But, I've got a lot of time for him. So he'll go towards the British Challenge. So we're just trying to get a few runs under him. All these horses, the real good 3-year-olds, they've been racing. They've got that residual fitness underneath them, whereas he's had 18 months off in the paddock. So it's going to be a hard test for him to come out and match the likes of Better Be the Best and Captain's Knock and El Camino and them sorts of horses. But I think he's as good as them on his day, but just whether he's got that residual fitness underneath him for this series, it might have just come up a little bit quick for him. But he is a horse that I've got a lot of time for, and if he stands up, I'd like to give him a shot at a race like the Chariots or something like that next season, because I think he's every bit as good as My Ultimate Ronnie, but he's just missed that whole season of racing, which is very hard for him.
What about in race 10, My Ultimate Johnny, first up off a couple of trials? What are you thinking?
He's a nice enough horse. I think he was strip fitter for the trial the other day. Just where he gets to in that run might be a little bit tricky. But, I think down the track he's sort of going to be a Menangle horse. Go around in them up to 80s of a Saturday night. That'll sort of be his grade. But we've got to start somewhere, and I think he'll be right thereabouts. It's just whether he's quite fit enough.
All right, and when do you make the final decision on My Ultimate Ronnie? Do you let him tell you which way to go, or you just get through another run or two?
Yeah, we'll get through the Breeders' Challenge. We've booked on a flight to Perth, so we can always cancel that, but we'll just get through the Breeders' Challenge first, and then I think the owners ideally would love to go to Queensland because they live up there, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the horse, and he's got the rest of his life to race the open class horses, and so you only fall once, and there's not too many big 4-year-old races like that around. So we'll get through the British Challenge, and at this stage, I'd say we're probably slightly leaning towards Perth, but we'll know in the next sort of 6 weeks.
All right, mate. Thanks for joining me. Good luck.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Greg.
So there was a bit of feedback last week after the podcast, and I'm all for any constructive feedback. You can find me on Twitter at GregHayes78. A few people have asked if I can give a quick summation of each race run at Menangle on the Saturday night program. I'm happy to do that, but I'm mindful that can be drawn out and tedious. So to try and keep it fast-paced and moving along, what I thought I'd do is limit each race recap to a 30-second limit. So I'm going to call this segment the Menangle Express. So let's get straight into it. Race 1 was won by Rip for Bernie and Doug Hewitt. Rip and Bubba Scrub charged off the arm in 26.3 with Rip sitting behind the leader. The middle half of 58.3 made it near impossible for anything back in the field. Rip went for a bath in betting, 135 out to 340, while Lightning Dan was $5 into 270. He was first up since June. He wasn't dreadful up the straight. He should benefit from the run. Not a lot from the beaten brigade. Best of them was Stingray Tara, who was okay late. Race 2 saw a much faster middle half, and that left the leader, Gennady, vulnerable. Lockheed proved his win last week was no fluke, grabbing Gennady in the shadows of the post. Saginaw looked likely, but peaked at the 100, and a nice drive by Robbie Morris on the roughie Ryan's Gangster after being 4 pegs to finish 4th. Mickey O worked home down the outside okay, was unimpeded late, while Don Liu took off down the back straight and covered ground through the fastest part of the race. On the other hand, Volunteer sat behind the leader and struggled into 7th. Race 3 will chalk Romney's win down to Cam Hart. Pitch Perfect led, but Hart charged to the lead before the mile and then handed over again to Pitch Perfect and Grace Pinella. Those two runners got 20 metres or more in front of the field when Rock of Delight galloped. The speed was constant, with all 4 quarters being between 28 and 29 seconds. Plenty of unlucky runners here. Tuppence didn't get a lot of room, neither did Double Encounter, who was strong to the line last week as well. Major Jealous had nowhere to go on the turn before getting home okay. There looks to be a few to follow in that one. Race number 4, the Mares. They were tied up the straight with the final quarter being the equal slowest of the race, but Arden's Delight deserved the win after doing all the work outside the leader. The short price favourite Double Down galloped as the starter said go, which changed the race quite a deal. O'Daddy led. Roll Whisloy sat behind the leader, and Mitzi Gaynor sat in the 1-1. The other runner in the market, Stella Arden, loomed and looked a winner soon after turning for home, but peaked on the run and finished 3rd. But having another few looks at the replay, every runner except the favourite got a crack in the straight. Race 5 was the fast class event of the night, and My Ultimate Ronnie was well supported in betting. Pete said so, charged off the gate from a wide draw, handed the lead over to the 4-year-old. The race was pretty much over. They walked through the second quarter in 30.2, and from there it became a pegs-dominated event, with My Ultimate Ronnie dashing home in 26.8 and 26.6. Thought Kanina Provlima was good to the line after settling on the pegs to finish 3rd. Taipo was in the market, finished 4th. It was forced to go to the chair after settling 3 pegs. Firefox sat 1-1. It looked to have every chance in the straight, but finished second last. The 6th was the feature Trotters event, the Tony and Jill McGrath Trotters Cup, with the winner picking up the golden ticket into the Inter-Dominion. Constantinople was backed off the map with as much as $4.50 on offer before he shortened to $2.50. Jack Callaghan got him away from the stand nicely, and by the time they got around round of the judge the first time he was in front. One Magic Kenny began well and led before handing over to the favourite. Jack said last week Constantinople wanted to switch off late, and he looked to do the same again with One Magic Kenny making a late charge. A couple of great runs in a fast last 56.7 half from well back. Toro Stride weaved its way up the straight, charged late to finish third, and Funky Monkey was making good ground late from the tail of the field. Race 7 was taken out by Arden's Ace for Tony Birtwistle and Darren Binskin. The gelding put the writing on the wall last week and led early this time around before taking the sit on St Crusader. Turning for home, St Crusader gave a good kick, but Binskin was able to urge Arden's Ace home to win by a half neck. A couple of really strong runs from back in the field in this one. Unfazed finished third for the Fitzpatricks, and it broke the clock late, and so too did Freddie Singh for Ricky Alchin. He was able to get away from the inside, turning for home, and really hit top gear. There was money to suggest he was going to run a good race, and he did. Follow him. They scorched home in 55.3. So Freddie Singh and also Unfazed would have absolutely broken the clock in two. And race 8 was taken out by just as well for McCarthy and Callaghan, giving the driver 3 for the night. The race was set up by a pedestrian middle half of 60.4. That allowed the leader to give a big kick in the straight. Constantina finished second after getting in behind the leader soon after the start, but the runner that grabbed the attention was Ideal in Dreams for David Thorne and Jack Trainer. Screamed home from third last on the turn. Soho Rhapsody made ground along the pegs and was good, and I didn't mind the run of What's Your Secret, who got home well along the inside.
28.8 the quarter. Constantinople swings in front in the Trotters Cup. Leads the way by 5 metres. In second spot, One Magic Kenny's about to be mobilised. Love Gun right down the outside. Doff Your Cap at an inside run appears for Sunny G. But Constantinople with 125 to go, travelling okay. Here's One Magic Kenny setting down after it really powerfully, and Toro Stride late. It's Constantinople gripping on. Constantinople wins the Trotters Cup. Second spot really close between Toro Stride or One Magic Kenny. Funky Monkey making
3 winners for Jack Callaghan this week, including the feature trot with Constantinople. It now books a start in the Inter Series, and Jack's back to have another chat. Hello, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Good. Good night at the office for you. Everything went right with Constantinople again this week. Stepped away well, and you got the opportunity to go forward early.
Yeah, he put on another really good performance, and off the front mark, he stepped really well and was able to take the lead up about the mile mark, so it worked out well.
I know you said last week that he wanted to switch off late, and a couple of runners closed again late last night. Were you expecting those runners to surge like they did?
Oh, yeah, it was obviously a quality field with plenty of good horses, so you got to expect that, they're definitely going to put up a fight. And, my boy was travelling pretty good, and it felt like once Gav's horse come to the outside, he gave that little kick again, so I was pretty happy with him.
I messaged Luke last week, and he said the stable would map out a plan for him after this week, but I guess he now gets ready for Brisbane later in the year.
Yeah, pretty much now. So I noticed in the first rankings he was 45th, so it's good now to know that you're guaranteed your spot and you can just pretty much work your whole schedule around that.
Mate, Lockheil won race 2. He landed in a good spot and was able to grab Gennady right on the line. The speed going on at the 800 metres helped take the sting out of the leader?
Yeah, for sure. He got a really good trip from a midfield gate. Bit of mid-race tempo, which helped his chances, and he got 2 on the bounce now, so he raced really good.
Mate, you dominated the last race when you got to the front on Just as well, and they let you dictate terms. She sprinted nicely when you asked her to go.
Yeah, she over-raced really bad last week after a false start. It fired her up quite bad, so made a few little gear changes, try to settle her down, and she really responded to that. So once she got a soft lead, she was always going to take a bit of catching. The
31.6 second quarter, that'd be like pinching a 33 or 34 second quarter at Harold Park in the old days. But to her credit, when you asked her to go, she really sprinted hard.
Yeah, she, once she was happy to settle, unlike last week, I probably just wanted to teach her to try and do that a bit more, and probably went a little bit too slow, but if you can get it, I guess you can take it.
Yeah, sure. Couple of your beaten drives. St Crusade, enormous behind Arden's Ace.
Yeah, he was really good. He's a horse that's always shown a lot of ability, but probably just not completely genuine all the time. So I think last week he had the quickest last quarter of the race and put on another brave performance last night. So I think he's building in the right direction.
And what about Mitzi Gaynor? Just missed in the mares?
Yeah, I was wrapped with her run. She, it was her first time stepping up at Menangle. She did a bit of work early and it was a really solidly run race. So it was a real pipe opener for her, but she found the line well. So you'd expect her to be competitive at Menangle in coming weeks.
And what about Roll Up? Forced to race without cover after the lead pair got a long way in front, but hit the line pretty strongly too.
Yeah, he was really good as well. He, right when the speed come on, the 2 wide line came, so didn't really want to be in the pocket. He's more of a tough roller horse, so he, he kept coming to the line, and I was really happy with him.
Mate, I said at the start, great night at the office for you. 8 drives, 3 winners, 3 seconds, a third. The only horse that wasn't in the money was Cash and Flow. It finished last. What did you think of him?
No, he was quite disappointing. He wanted to get pretty rough around that last bend when the speed really went on the race, which isn't, it's definitely not like him. He's always been a really good gated horse, so we might just get a little vet check over him and see if we can find any issues, but he'll probably have a little freshen up at least.
Well, mate, 3 winners on a Saturday night always makes the weekend a better one. Congratulations on that, and we'll catch up again soon.
No worries. Thanks, Greg.
No driving for Brad Hewitt at Menangle on Saturday night after he was involved in a nasty fall at Yagowra last week. Steward's report mentioned John O'Shea had a fracture in his back and underwent surgery on his wrist, so our thoughts are with him. And they say that Brad came out of the fall with delayed concussion. He's joining me for a chat. Hi, mate. How are you?
Good, Hazy. How are you, mate?
Really well. Well, we hear about a delayed concussion affecting footballers after a big hit. What can you tell us about how you're feeling?
To be honest, the head's been good all week. Even that day and the next day didn't have any sort of headaches or anything. It was just the rest of my body that was giving me a bit of grief. But you can never take these things too lightly and got to do the right thing.
So what, do you got to get a doctor's clearance before you can get back in the sulky?
Got to do a cognitive test too. So I'm hoping to get both of them done sometime next week.
So you're feeling better now, or is it just the body that's still sore?
Just the body. Me hip and back and that just feel a bit tender, but just getting better every day. But other than that, everything's pretty good.
Take us back to Menangle on Saturday night. Taipo finished 4th behind My Ultimate Ronnie. It was forced to come off the pegs and go to the chair in the slowly run race. Didn't shirk the task up the straight.
Yeah, I was wrapped with his run again. Just when horses like that, like Ultimate Ronnie and Pete said so and that, like they're top level horses. When they're getting home in 53-3 or whatever it was, and like he's made his run from the 900 or 1,000 or something like that, and to still only get beat a little over a length, I thought he was another great run.
I noticed that he's in the Inter-Dominion nominations. Is that a plan?
Well, he's sort of that level. I think he's the top horse. Just with the right running, that like he's as good as most. Obviously last night wasn't running to suit, and he still wasn't far away. But I think in them harder, more genuine run races, like he's just got a really good finish on him, and he's just got no quitting. Like he's just a hard old horse. So I think something like that would really suit him.
Do you go back to Menangle again in the next week or two?
Not too sure. Either here or might nominate him for the Victoria Cup to see how he comes through this and what goes forward. But any of them races you just need draws. I know he had the draw last night, but it just lacks that brilliant gate speed and got crossed and it was sort of out of his hands what happened last night. But I was really happy with his run, as I said.
Canola Cup on Monday, you got 2 in it. Keepers Ideal and Beer Money. Firstly, Keepers Ideal, drawn barrier 4, beaten as a short price favourite in its heat. What did you make of the run?
I was disappointed with his run. Like, his work had been really good, and I thought he'd be hard to beat. But there's a false start, and that stirred him right up. He got a bit keen behind the gate and whatnot, and then coming out of the gate, he was putting in some steps and whatever. He didn't really handle the track. It's a bit of an ask on him. Like, he's only having his second career start too, so it's a bit of an ask on him coming off a 1,000-metre track here to going around a track like Ugara. So I'm hoping he'll benefit from it. He's pulled up well, worked good through the week. So if he does everything right, he should be hard to beat.
What about Beer Money? That was the horse you fell on. He must have pulled up okay.
Yeah, he was fine. Because I held on to him. He didn't fall or get away or anything. So he was really good. It's hard to say, but they'd gone hard early for the first lap, and he's a good little try with a bit of speed. So if he didn't win that race, he would have, it wouldn't have been far away. So same again, he's drawn the back line. If there's a bit of genuine speed and they're sort of not getting home too quick, then he should be finishing off well as well, I hope.
If you were driving, who would you have picked to drive in the race?
Probably the other horse, Keepers Ideal, just from the draw, and like, he's probably got more ability than the other little horse. But I just know the Beer Money, he's just a real good little trier, and he's nice and genuine. So it's hard to say. It depends how the races run. But around them tracks, and when you draw better, you always want to be on them ones up the front end.
Mate, just back to Taipo. When you mentioned the Victoria Cup, what are you waiting on to see? Are you thinking of throwing in the nom?
I think so. Just as long as he comes through the run all right, like he always handles his race, and he has a few little niggles and that we've just got to manage and keep on top of. But I sort of was going to go to Kilmore on Friday, but I had him nominated for both places, and I knew he was going to sort of draw 3 or 4 at Menangle, so I went that way. But there was a couple of scratchings, and ended up coming out of one and getting crossed. So that didn't really go to plan. But as I said, like, his run was as good as any. So just see how he comes through the run, and we'll go from there.
If you do go, will you take other horses down to make the trip, or will he just go down by himself?
I'm still a bit up in the air. I don't know whether I'm going to take Captain's Knock down for the Derby, or just stay local with him, because he's obviously qualified for the British Challenge semi-final. But as you know, it's a strong crop of 3-year-olds. Got Better Be the Best, and I can't think of stopping me. The Queensland horse for real life. Like, there's some really nice 3-year-olds going around. I think even Captain Hammerhead's eligible, but he didn't go around at Wagga, but he might poke up to Menangle in a couple of weeks for that last heat. So if you draw outside any of them, like, it's going to be really hard. So I'll just see how he is, and might go down for a till at that and into the Breeders' Challenge. But either way, like, Breeders' Challenge will be his last race, and tip him out and have him back for some better races next year, hopefully.
All right, mate. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you back in the sulky soon.
Thanks, Davey.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
To that I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that.
And the winner is...
Not those who followed me last week. We had one winner that paid $1.10, and then we had a short price favourite at Menangle, Gallop. Still ran a good race, but that doesn't pay the bills. So, 2 winners this week. Race 5, number 1 at Ugara on Monday. Keen on Blue Suede Rocker. Last two starts, winner at Cowra, second at Eugowra. Both times drew the second row, comes back to the front line. Blake Micallef sticks. And importantly, the horse has had the 3 starts at Eugowra for 2 wins and a second. So from gate 1, I think it'll be very hard to beat in a Waratah heat. So that's race 5, number 1, Blue Suede Rocker. And then go to Menangle on Tuesday. Now, there are 3 horses that are going to go around against one another after racing one another last time out behind Luxaturna. So you've got Sarah Tesloy, who's drawn out wide on the track. You've got Stylish Lazarus, and you've also got Sweet Haley Jane for Ricky Alchin. Look, despite the draw, I'm going to go with Sarah Tesloy to win. She's had the 5 starts. She's won 2 of them. Last time out, she showed really good gate speed after drawing well, and she was able to get in behind Luxaturna, and on that occasion got a nice soft 30.5, 28.2 middle half, and then was trying to hang on to the tow rope up the straight when Luxaturna got home in 26.8. She didn't do a bad job. She beat home Stylish Lazarus. Stylish Lazarus was a $26 chance in that race, and Sweet Haley Jane went round as a $19 chance. Since then, Sweet Haley Jane has gone to Bathurst and been successful. But I just like the way Sarah Tesloy finished that race, and against the opposition that she's racing on Tuesday, I think she can win. So race 6, number 11, Sarah Tesloy, despite that wide draw. That just about wraps up the podcast for another week. Thanks to all the guests for coming on. Jarrod Alchin, Jack Callaghan and Brad Hewitt. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, tell your mates who are into harness racing to give it a listen, because as they say, from little things, big things grow. Have a good week, and I'll catch you again next week.